Welcome back, sports fans, to another record-breaking edition of Sports Talk is McKimmie. We are back for Season 2, and this is our second straight week on the road. We're in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, staying in this beautiful rental that we got from Shaw Rental Enterprises, SRE, only the best in rentals. And thank goodness we have such a beautiful view to look out here on the river here, because it's kind of a tough night, especially for us Arkansas Razorback fans, as the Arkansas Razorbacks, who were leading at 7-3 when we did our update, ended up losing 27-14, and the second half of the game was just a completely different story, Mike.
Right, Dave, you're on both counts. I think that this rental property is even nicer than last week's. We are right on the river. I can hear the river rolling right now, and it does take away a little bit of the pain. You know, there was hope that we had, and you could feel it like every time it was 7-3, and it's 7-3, and 7-3, and 7-3, because we could not get the offense going. You knew that all Alabama had to do was get that one big play, and they were going to have the lead, and that's exactly what happened. And
well, Mike, I think
81 yards, 81-yard pass, bam, 10-7, and just turned everything around.
Yeah, there was and being in the stadium tonight, Mike, like you said, we felt, I mean, you could feel it in the crowd after that 81-yard touchdown completion. The momentum just completely shifted, and then we really pretty much gave them a gift not long after that with the critical play that I'm still trying to figure out what in the world Brett Bielema was thinking.
The fake punt.
The fake punt that was just horribly executed. It was a terrible call, and I can tell you by being in the stadium, we knew right after that play Arkansas was done, because the momentum completely shifted over. And Arkansas, which recovered from a very critical call last week with 8 minutes and 30 seconds left last week, they ran a similar special teams play that failed. This week, we were unable to recover from it, and the game was never the same after that, Mike.
Well, Dave, the fans were just laughing at that play because it was a joke. I mean, sure, you run a fake, catch him by surprise. It was fourth and short, but no imagination. Just, snap to the punter, two blockers, running outside. There was no imagination to it at all. At that point, really what the Hogs needed to do, the defense played their hearts out, or its heart out. And so you punt it, you put Alabama deep in their own territory once again, you flip the field, and that defense, who was putting so much pressure on Coker and the stopping the running game pretty well. There were no 100-yard rushers for Alabama tonight, which is something that they like to hang their hat on. The defense did not allow that. So you got to tip your hat to the Razorback defense, but Bielema sure did put them in a bad position. But, after that call by Bielema, the Hogs defense, it did stiffened up, and it looked like they were going to force a punt. But such a terrible holding call on DJ Dean on what appeared to be an uncatchable ball kept the drive alive, and from then on, we were looking at a 17-7 game, and you're looking at how can this team possibly score 10 points?
Mm-hmm. Well, on that play, of course it was. Arkansas was still up in the game, and when we were watching that game, we said, "Hey, could be the ball game right here." We got the stop on it, and just a terrible call. I mean, it was just a ticky-tack call. It was, ended up giving them a 1st and 10, and then after that, Arkansas's defense. It seemed like after that they were broke, and they were broke because their offense, the lack of a rushing game, the offensive inconsistency. We had opportunities. In that third quarter, Brandon Allen continued to struggle. He missed. He had a wide open play on a slant earlier that quarter. He threw behind him where the defensive back had fallen down that would have just gone for probably a touchdown or a very long gain. And, the inconsistency of Brandon Allen, he just didn't get it done. I think it was, 15 out of 32? Looking on our Shaw Rental Enterprises stats, who's provided us the stats for the game.
176 yards.
And that's too high of a number, really, Mike, because 176 yards, but 55 of it was on a play which was really in garbage time.
Yeah. After it was already 27-7. He extended the play, made a nice throw. But, what difference did it make at that point? We really needed, when a defensive back falls down, you got to hit him. You got to hit your wide receiver. I think it probably would have been a touchdown, and we were going to be right then looking at a 17-14 game, or 20-14 game at that point. And we're right back in it in that case. Surprisingly, you got to take advantage when the defense, gives you gifts. And
the missed pass, the continual pressure on the defense, it all just mounted up on the Razorbacks in the second half. The Razorbacks looked tired. And the Arkansas Razorback, offensive line just did not do their part tonight. I think they were kind of exposed. We always talk about how they're the largest offensive line in all of football. Tonight, maybe the size of their offensive line hurt them because they just looked slow. And they were in the backfield all night long and just were throwing Brandon Allen off of his rhythm all night long. I mean, that defense, you could tell, especially from our vantage point being at the game, where you can see in person the speed of those players, there was just nothing we could do to stop them.
Not only are they the largest, heaviest line in football, Dave, I'm afraid they are the most overrated line in football. Because when it's 4th and 1 or 3rd and 1, you can't really depend on the push from this line to get that yard. And when you're 328 pounds across the line, you should be able to do that. But Alabama, met them power for power. And there was a point in about 5 minutes left in the game where Arkansas had run 12 plays for a -1 yard. And, it's hard to win a ball game like that. But, again, hats off to the defense, back to the drawing board for the offense. You just got to do better with the run. Maybe go wide a little bit more with Cobbs because that's where. No, I'm sorry, not Cobbs, Collins, because that's where he was getting his yards tonight. The 26 of them that he got. But that's how it went. Arkansas falls to 3-9 versus Alabama on the road in SEC play. They are 4-8 at home, so a little bit better at home. Maybe we can get them next year. But, there's Auburn next week, and we'll just see what happens next week. Luckily, we get to stay in Arkansas next week. We don't have to leave the state.
Yeah, we're going to be set up next week through Shaw Rental Enterprises. We're going to be staying over in Fayetteville next week, and really excited for that game. But, yeah, the Hogs dropped to 2-4. If the Hogs are seriously considering trying to get to a bowl, they're going to have to go on a little bit of a win streak here. But tough night for the Razorbacks, but at least we have this nice rental to enjoy it, and that'll make the flight back from Tuscaloosa tomorrow morning, that'll make that a little bit better, getting to enjoy a nice evening through Shaw Rental Enterprises, only the best. And we'll be right back, fans.